Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of the Maconi Setup Shop A-Fix Tutorials. This week we are looking at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, known as the Magic Mile, so strap in and let's get to it. Interesting dynamic for this race. I'm only shifting between fourth and third gear. Um, I do want to talk a little bit about just running in fourth gear. I think it's the better way to save a little bit of tire. But the problem is it kind of bogs down a lot. So if you're in traffic or even later into a run, I don't really know when a good time to run fourth gear is. I just wanted to make a note that it is somewhat doable, but I think you're going to be shifting between fourth and third uh, constantly throughout the entire race. If your rear tires, for whatever reason, get really, really worn and you find that you're loose, then at that point, I would probably just stick to running fourth gear um, only. Uh, just know that it's nowhere near as fast as shifting to third. So really important to take care of your tires here. I know it's really hard to see. I was going to say you guys should leave a comment down below on what you think of the new UI. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of it. Not trying to hate on it, but I'm just not a fan. It's just really hard to see for me. But that's my own personal thought. But if you watch the inputs, I'd want you guys to notice like how long I'm letting the car roll through the center. Okay, again, this is clean air. This is the best the car is going to feel. But New Hampshire's a rhythm racetrack, but it's also a racetrack that you really want to let the car do the work. Okay. Another thing for New Hampshire that I learned a long, long time ago is don't try to turn the car in the center by putting a bunch of wheel into it. Okay. Use the throttle. Again, you can really make this car rotate if you're holding that quarter throttle if you need it to turn. But if you're pushing on exit, you really got to wait before you get onto the gas, okay? Um, this is a track where you don't ever want to be tracking out to the wall right at exit. You want to feel like you're driving down the hill to where you almost feel like you're going to get flush with the wall, maybe a quarter of the way down the straightaway, halfway down the straightaway even. You know what I mean? You're trying to make the exit as straight as possible. You don't want to be sliding your front tires across the exit. That's not how you want to run this place. Um, I would argue that even an exit like that is like borderline as to what I'm trying to explain. I feel like I'm exiting a little wider than I want to. Um, you want to be coming straight off, okay, with as little wheel input as possible. Now, with that being said, as you can see, the higher you run in the corner, like some people might look at that and say, wow, he missed that corner or he overdrove it. Not at all. This is fully intentional, okay? There's a lot of grip up here. The problem is on fresh tires, it's not fast enough, okay? By the time you get maybe 25, I'd argue 30 laps into a run, you're going to see guys intentionally running 3 and 4 lanes higher because once the tires wear, the track gets heat, the track takes rubber. These third, fourth lanes are easily going to come in, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see guys even creep up to the fifth lane in the middle of the corner just to turn and come down the hill and get that straight launch off because you're just going to make the straightaway longer. Passing here has always been incredibly difficult. Okay, uh, takes time and patience. You really want to save your tires, but if you are going to pass somebody, this lane down here is where you're going to do it. Okay, everybody's going to be running a diamond. At least people that know how to get around the racetrack. New Hampshire's not a place where you want to just wrap a line. Okay, even when you're passing, you're not going to, for example, you're not going to be holding the seam the entire time. All right, I wish I could move this, but I can't. You're not going to be holding the seam. All right, everybody's going to be a diamond, and if they're not diamonding, they're going to be really, really slow in the center. Okay, so if you're trying to pass somebody and they're holding pretty tight on that upper seam, contact's going to be made. All right, that's the nature of New Hampshire. The other thing I wanted to point out, that lap 9 right there, the only time I wanted to demonstrate it because it really kills a lap, but if you guys didn't know, this first lane all the way down here is significantly flatter than the second, third, fourth, and fifth lanes. So it's very rare that you're going to see people riding down there. Now, if you are tight, right, and you can get the car to rotate in the center, it's not a bad idea to try to get down to that first lane and try to de-wedge the car a little bit to get it to turn. It just becomes a bit of a handful. It's not something that I recommend. The years that we had dynamic track, it was slightly usable, depending on how well you took care of your tires in a run. Like you could actually use the apron in first lane and do what we're trying to demonstrate in the second and third lanes. but very, very rarely will you ever see somebody intentionally go down there and use it. And I hope that demonstration was enough for you to see why the car wants to step out. It becomes a handful pretty quickly, and you lose a lot of speed. But if you're 30, 40, 50 laps in, I know that's a stretch. But if you are that far into a run and your tires are that worn, it's a great option if you're tight. Okay. Here's our little pit road entry right here. Gonna do something different here. These are the tires. Okay, this was for this run, obviously 93, 93. Not terrible. Okay, we're gonna go back here and try to pick out some in-car spots. Again, I'm not a big visual guy. I don't really care to use brake markers. I know when I've overdrove it and when I haven't. Um, but I would say anywhere around the 3 for a lot of beginners, like that's probably about as far as you want to go, and just use that as a base. If you can't get the car slowed down at the 3 marker, brake between the 3 and the 4, or start braking at the 4. I feel like the 4 is a ways back, and the more comfortable you get, maybe you can get into that 2 marker, or maybe into that 3 marker. Guys, I'm going to hide this laps thing. I don't know how to make it smaller. I just feel like it's taking up way too much, and at this point in the video, I don't really think it's needed. But again, just you see the diamond here. We're aiming for this bottom seam and letting it come up, and it doesn't matter what lane you're running in. If you want to start in the second lane, you're aiming for that second seam and drifting up. Okay, this isn't like I'm overdriving the corner. This is 100% intentional. This is exactly how you want to get around here. You start on the bottom seam, come up a lane, and then you're trying to exit down low so you can get that straight shot off. And you'll realize if you don't get that straight exit and you find that you're cranking steering wheel, you're going to give up a lot of momentum coming off the corner, and anybody who does hit a straight corner is going to almost blow by you. You're not going to have a chance to fight them off in the next corner. Okay, and again, that exit down in turn 2, it's the same thing in 4. If you get on the apron, it's what it's going to do. At this point of the run, the tires are good enough. You don't want to be doing it. That's more of a demonstration. We'll talk a little bit more after the silent lap. Okay, guys, 2 things that I want to go over real quick again. In the corners, I know it's really hard to see, but if you can make out the steering wheel and the inputs here, obviously we're going to be drag braking. Like you want to be at charge in these corners, so your heaviest braking is going to come on initial braking, and then you're going to want to trail brake. If you find that you're tight, dial some brake bias to the rears. It'll help slow it down with the rear tires and try to help it turn a little bit. If you find that you're loose on entry, put some brake into the front. Okay, this is one of these racetracks where brake bias can really change how you're driving. All right, it's a good tool to have. And then, if you guys can notice it as well, once I start picking up the throttle, I am doing everything in my power not to add wheel. Okay, if you need a little bit here in the initial throttle stage to get it to turn, it's not the worst thing, but at the more throttle you give it, the straighter you want the steering wheel to be. All right. Otherwise, you're going to be melting your tires, and 30 laps in, you're going to have a handful, and when everybody else is driving around you, you're going to be asking yourself, what in the heck am I doing? All right. That's just the way to get around here. I struggled here when I first started racing New Hampshire, and with a lot of help from some teammates, this turned into one of my favorite racetracks. And I've had a lot of success here, and it's a very unique challenge, and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can take something from this and apply it to your races and have a lot of success as well. With that said, that's just going to cover it for this video. As always, if you find that this video was helpful, please consider leaving a like. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to go over, or voice your opinion on the UI, by all means, share it down below. Like I said, my honest opinion, I'm sure it'll grow on me. I'm sure over time we'll be able to make changes to it. I know I can change the size of it, but I just like the old UI better. That's just my own personal opinion. So let me know what you think down below. And as always, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you guys can see these videos every Monday when they're posted on the Maconi YouTube page. Alright guys, best of luck this week, and we'll see you on the track.